And
Hmm.
even if we're intending to put goodness out into the world, there might be a listener just in a really tough spot that is triggered by a word or by a tone or something that happens. And if you're not aware of how you're receiving it and delivering it, I think it's a two-way street and it's pretty powerful.
Well, I think the delivery is for sure our responsibility because I was talking to a gentleman this past weekend, and he's like a professional speaker or whatever. And I mentioned to him that, like, if we have a message, if we can't get our message across, if the person doesn't understand our message, that's kind of like on us to deliver that in a way or form it to where this person can understand it. The way I normally start is if you can introduce yourself, just tell us anything about yourself that you want to preface the conversation with, what you do, anything about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Certainly. So thank you for having me. I always start with a heart of gratitude. My name is Kylie Rae Fitzgibbons. Many people know me as Kylie Rae of Sunshine. I was born and raised in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and left right after high school to go to pastry school. So I don't have a lot of fun college stories. It was more gourmet than the casual college stories, but became certified as a pastry chef, thought I was going to be owner operator of a cute little corner cafe, all those kind of dreams, and ended up moving front of house operations. So continued my education online for bachelor's of restaurant and hospitality management, which just kind of led me to where I am today as a luxury hospitality experience expert. So I travel as a trainer, a speaker, and a consultant to help elevate experiences across America. Had some really cool experiences from almost 10 years working with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company, 7, almost 8 years with the Kimpton, specifically in Grand Cayman. So I have a lot of Caribbean influence in me. And then the most recent, staying between Texas, Georgia, and the Caribbean has been my home triangle, most recently in North Carolina. So I'm just down the street from you, being in South Carolina.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, there's a couple things that kind of stick out that I want to ask you about. So the Ritz Carlton, I think there's one of those in Charlotte.
There is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've never stayed there. I don't know if it's I couldn't tell you anything about it, but I think I think it is it luxury? Did you say luxury? Yeah.
Top
Um
1% luxury service provider in the world. They're
it's a what now?
the top 1% service luxury organization in the world,
So what does that mean?
like the best of the best. So, for example, do you know Chick-fil-A? Like in the South, everyone eats Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fast food chicken. Well, they're known for their service and saying my pleasure. Their founders actually invested in training, hospitality training from the Ritz-Carlton Leadership Center when they launched their brand. So they're known as the best of the best in the quick service food industry because they were trained by the Ritz-Carlton core values and service standards.
Okay, I didn't realize that. That makes a lot of sense though, because I think like some people get confused on Chick-fil-A because they think that people go there for the food, and it's like, I mean, the food's okay, it's fast food, it's okay, but you go there for the service, like that's why everybody loves Chick-fil-A.
It's true. And that's where, if you look at the underlying pieces of it, it's the culture, it's the service. I say that service is people taking care of people, and it's like the human element to it.
Hmm.
Because any business, landscaping, for example, you're still taking care of people, maybe their lawn and their gardens, but you're still being of service to another human. And so there's
Right.
touch points within that experience that I've kind of mastered over the past 2 decades. And that's really my sweet spot of identifying those kind of people experiences that you can tap into and transform versus just doing transactional. Here, book an appointment, let me deliver the service, and then here, pay me. And there's so many other pieces to it that can make your business different than everybody else's. And it doesn't have to cost you $1 million. It can be low cost, high impact. And I get really nerdy about all that stuff.
No, I mean it makes sense though, because I feel like like people's experience of your business or your product or service, or buying that thing, that is, like, I think that is the retention of those customers. I don't think a lot of people think about that enough. They think about, like, the quality of the service or the product, and first of all, I feel like quality is subjective. Like the market determines how what the quality is. Like you. And I say this a lot because entrepreneurs, it's easy for us to, like, put our heart into something and have an emotional attachment to the thing that we create. But you have to kind of, I wouldn't say be swayed it's almost like you're influenced by the market, because the market does determine like it's just like you have to make the quality fit what you can deliver to the market, if that makes sense. But it's like, yeah, I think the experience that the customer has is and that goes for like booking, like how easy it is to get there, how easy it is to set up an appointment, how easy it is to pay. Like, dude, there's still places online, like you go to these clothing places online, you shop online or whatever, and it's like a 5-step process to check out. It's like, how many times would you just go to Amazon or whatever when it's like 2 steps? I think Amazon's like 2, maybe 3 steps, and then you checked out. I mean,
And
those things
it's
matter.
time. All of those steps are your time. So if
Right,
someone takes the time to refine their experience journey, is what I call it, those touch points are everything. So if you can make it more simplified and not ultimately the finest service experience in the world is to make the guest or your client not think too much or work too hard.
right.
And so if you're doing that, that's exactly your point of not doing 5 steps, but doing it in 2. Like I know I absolutely wouldn't hesitate to make a 2-step process. I would probably have more shoes than I do right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing is though, that's an actual hack for people who like have an issue or, a problem shopping online. Like I've heard of people actually freezing, not at the bank, but like putting their credit card in a freezer in water, putting it in a freezer, because it's another step to go through to use your credit card. You know?
Freezing it?
Yeah. So like you put it in a cup or whatever, and you put water in it, and you put it actually in the freezer, and you have
I've
to
never
use
heard.
it. Yeah, to use it, you have to like either chip away at it or let it thaw out or whatever. Yeah, it's like a what is it? It's like a, oh, I guess a way to control spending or whatever. I've heard of people doing that.
That's hilarious. I've
Yeah,
never heard
yeah. I mean, but like you said, it's another step to go through, and
true.
I don't know, it might help. I mean, if you're like me and you're just driven and ambitious, you're gonna find a way to use the car anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't know, man. I think it sounds simple to say like, well, you want the process of spending the actual money to be easy, but there's a lot of people who don't, you know, like in the trades industry, there's a lot of people who haven't really adapted to the contactless payment yet, the credit cards or whatever it is. And they're still the check, mailing the check through the mail and that kind of stuff. And it's just like, man, you know, I need to get paid. I don't know. Well, we got to get paid. So, but yeah, that's a good point. You mentioned, what did you say? It was it pastry. So what is that? I've never heard of that before. I mean, I know what pastries are, but like, what you went to school for that?
I
So
did. So
what was your plan?
it's an associate's degree, so I found a way to expedite my education. So instead of a
Okay.
2-year degree for 2 years, I did a 2-year degree that I got in 15 months. And of those 15 months, 3 of them were a paid internship actually working in the field. So it was 12 months. It was 1 year, boots on the ground in school, and majority of my classes were playing in the kitchen.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Did you have like a long-term plan with that?
I thought if I went to pastry school, I would get to open my own little patisserie cafe, like a corner
Mm,
shop. And my vision was to make cookies and serve little barista style simple coffees and maybe have like a kindness corner that has a library. You know, when you're walking down the street and they have those little birdhouse boxes that are libraries, like you take a book, you give a book. Have you
all
seen
right. Yeah,
those?
yeah, yeah.
Like just a bigger version of that where you can have a space to come and connect with people, read a book, practice your scripture, whatever you want to do in the
Okay.
little corner of the cafe and have like lots of windows. And that was like on my heart since I was like 7. Went to
Mm,
pastry school and then realized after working my internship for 3 months and a pastry chef position at a locally owned restaurant that I'm more equipped to front of house operations, like face to face. I'm better at serving and running operations versus being in the kitchen full time with no windows. I
yeah.
like to be mobile and have access to fresh air and people beyond the kitchen. So, it was a journey. I learned a lot, and I also learned from that experience that you can have transferable skills. So, if one day you decide to not do your landscaping company and you want to switch into plumbing or roofing or another trade, the skills and experiences that you've had from that, you can transfer it to other things. I don't think it keeps you in a box. Like we were talking about cookie
Mm,
cutters or like keeping you in a box. I think If you're resilient, you can take what you've learned and transfer those skills. And the perspective of learning back of the house has allowed me to respect the back of the house at a whole nother level that many people don't necessarily understand. So front of house and back of house have to work together, you know?
Right.
So that's fun.
Yeah, so I'm not really big into like pastries or whatever, but I love coffee shops, man. I don't like I think it like I wish I could just go experience the whole coffee shop aesthetic everywhere that exists. But I usually go to like the bit like Starbucks, which is I mean it's kind of a coffee shop, but it's not really the same as like the locally owned, you know. It's just a different vibe. But
You know, the first Starbucks started in Washington State.
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My ex actually went there. They went to visit. Her and her sister went there. Yeah.
The Pike place is actually like the market.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's like apparently it's like a little like a village or something up there. Like there's like a yeah, I've never been there, but yeah, it's crazy that they started that thing and then now it's what it is, you know. And they don't really have anything that's on that level of comp. I mean, there's like Dunkin', but I don't think Dunkin's the same coffee wise. Like it's not like, you know, I'm not really a fan of Dunkin's coffee. I don't it just tastes it's like watery to me. Like
Yeah.
it's like watered down. But I like something with some power. You know. Like Starbucks, man, I don't know what they do to their coffee, but it has more like the most caffeine of probably any coffee I've had. I do like the Black Rifle though, the Black
Black
Rifle coffee.
Rifles.
Yeah, I don't know. I love coffee, man. I actually like. I'm gonna probably drink coffee once we finish this. I had some before this, but I don't know. It's just like it's just I don't. Relaxing is not the word. It's just like I don't know how to explain it. I just love it.
I'm
I'm a
pretty
fan.
naturally caffeinated or solar powered. If I go outside, I'm charged up, but
Oh
I'll
yeah,
usually
yeah.
one
Sunlight.
coffee and I'm okay.
Yeah, I don't try not to get too crazy with it, man. But I like if you drink two Starbucks cups, that's like probably 700 milligrams of caffeine. That's a
Oh, wow.
lot. Yeah, because they put a lot in theirs. But yeah, sunlight has that effect too. The sunlight
What's your
being
go-to coffee order?
at Starbucks, just black coffee.
The simple.
I don't because I don't know, man. I don't do the whole the whipped cream or whatever it is they put in that stuff. I don't. I just it's black coffee. But that's how I know like the taste difference. Like that's how like you can really like people say if you drink like bottled water a lot, you can tell that different bottled water tastes different or whatever.
Yep.
The same thing with coffee, man. You can actually appreciate the taste. Like there's definitely a different taste to it. Like I think people have an issue getting past the bitterness, the initial bitterness or whatever. But but you can actually like Black Rifle. It has a really good taste. It's like a really it's like I don't know crisp or whatever. They do have some varieties I'm not crazy about, but yeah, I don't do because I ask people all the time. I'm like, dude, if you put all the sugar and stuff in there, does that not like cancel out the caffeine because you're gonna have that sugar crash? And it's like I feel like I'd be back at square one.
That makes sense. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I'm coconut milk and fresh cinnamon in my coffee, and it kind of cuts it a little bit, so it's not so strong
Okay.
of black coffee. But my favorite coffee ever is at a place called Vivo Cafe in Grand Cayman, and they make
Hmm.
a cococino. So instead of regular milk, it's coconut milk, and they just like make it into this delicious coconut creamy coffee situation, and it's my favorite. It's so good.
Yeah, there's so many different types like of coffee out there. But you know what's like crazy is these places, kind of like what you're talking about, the locally owned places. They'll have like the only black coffee they have would be like an americano. And it always puzzles me because I'm like, okay, well, they have all these other different variations of coffee, and I feel like the black coffee would be the base thing. Like that's the thing you start with. So how do you not have black coffee, but you have all these different variations? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know how it's made, but I mean, Americano is not. To me, that's not coffee. That's just like I don't even know what. I think
Espresso
it's like what
water.
espresso and water or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not. It ain't the same. That actually tastes closer to the Dunkin'. I feel like because Dunkin' is. I don't know, man. It just tastes watery. But I guess maybe people don't go there for the black coffee. I mean, I can't imagine that people go to Dunkin' too often and want just black because they have all the other stuff, the sweets and stuff.
They have a lot of options for sure. Now, I love the locally owned and like finding the local organic roasters and learning about it. When
Mm.
I was a general manager, so I went from server assistant serving bread and water and a smile, climb the leadership ladder to general manager by 30. And it was a cool career journey just to give you intro to like my hospitality background beyond the back office or back kitchen, back house. When I was in Texas, I had the opportunity to be part of opening a proudly served Starbucks cafe.
Mm.
So it wasn't a full on franchise with Starbucks, but it was an extension of that served. And they have a regional sales lady that goes around and actually gives you a sales presentation of their menu. And they have all of these different types of coffee. So, to your point, if you're just drinking black coffee, there's blonde, light roast, medium roast, dark roast, pike place, something, something. I haven't mastered Starbucks by any means, but there's different layers to it. I used to
Yep.
study wine, and I think it's a similar thing. So she was a coffee sommelier and would teach you different layers to the complexities and which coffee you can pair with what. And it was really fascinating.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, you're right. There's different. I can't even understand all the layers that are there, but it's crazy that there's that many variations of it because you think it's just it's just coffee, like that's just it. But there's all kinds of it depends on how long it's been. Is it roasted? I think it's roasted or whatever. As far as the dark, medium, light, and all that. Yeah, there's a science. There's definitely a science to it, and I just
Even from like a positive mindset perspective, since you do mindset coaching too, there's a layer of gratitude to coffee that I really love. And it was a story, I think it was a documentary even at some point, a couple years ago, but it showed this gentleman who did this research of expressing gratitude, not just for the final product of the liquid black coffee in your cup, but thank you to the person who prepared it. Thank you to the person who grinded it and roasted it and the farmer who grew it. And thank you to God for providing the beans and like all of these layers to it that I thought was really powerful um, to express gratitude for a cup of coffee and like the play on words of fill up your cup first and happens to complement coffee drinking.
hmm.
It's kind of
I mean,
fun.
that's a good point though, because I don't think it's ever just a cup of coffee. Like, there's a lot of things. How many marriages do you think started with a cup of coffee? You know what I mean? Like,
Cool.
how many business relationships, or contracts started with a cup of coffee? I mean, it's never a cup of coffee. Like, it's never just that. So
It's
yeah, I mean that.
conversations around it too.
The what now?
It's like conversations around it, like old school would have been like fireside chat, like, "Let's go
Hmm.
sit around the fire and roast a chicken," or I don't know what you
Yeah.
make on the fire, but,
No,
like,
I
sit
mean.
around the fireside and have, like, conversations and back in, like, cowboy days, and now it's like, "Let's go for a cup of coffee,"
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
coffee conversations, it's a thing.
But, like, so that makes sense, man, because and I'll tell you something that I noticed too. I used to do the black coffee, the black iced coffee from Starbucks. It's okay or whatever. It's good if it's, like, hot outside, but, I noticed that my conversations with people would be different if I had the iced versus the hot,
In what
because
way?
so it's like if I was drinking the iced, I felt like the conversation was, like, just colder, and I know that sounds, like, crazy to say that, but it was like I don't know, there seemed like there was less chemistry, the conversation just didn't flow as well, versus if I had hot, it was like it was more, um, it was just a better conversation, and that could be coincidence, but it happened a couple times, and I was like, "That's interesting." But there's actually a study, and I don't know, I can't remember what the study was, but they basically went around to random people and they offered them a cold drink and a hot drink, and then they asked them to give their opinion on, I forgot what it was, but the people who had the cold drink gave more of uh, a harsher opinion, and the people who had the warm drink were more like open and receptive to whatever the thing was. But so yeah, there's a psychology behind it for sure.
I love that, that's so fascinating. Have you gotten into positive psychology at all?
Maybe I'm not. I haven't heard it phrased that way. What is that?
So it's like major you can go study in if you go to Wharton School in Pennsylvania, and Dr. Martin Seligman wrote a book. He was one of the founders of the concept of positive psychology, maybe early 90s. My numbers are
Hmm.
probably off with my history knowledge, but I read a few books on positive psychology and that concept and just framing things in a more optimistic way and the way that your neuro brain muscles operate, the science behind it is there's science to it, like you're saying, psychology, and it's a level of psychology and looking at how your brain actually operates, like the familiarity. If you're programming yourself to be in gratitude mode and in looking at things in a perspective of a positive light, you're more likely to attract more of those things. If you're apparently having a cup of hot coffee versus cold coffee, maybe there's something in that course that
Yeah.
is that too.
No, yeah, I have to look into that. I've never heard of that before. But man, like I feel like psychology is really I think it's endless because I don't think we know a lot, but I don't think we know nearly what the human brain we could know about, what we could know about the human brain. I think it's I think, well, I say that and I do believe that, but then I also believe even if we did know what we don't know about the brain, it's like I think the brain limits like the experience of the soul. So I think the soul is like, I don't mean to get off on this tangent, but I think the soul is like connected to this bigger sort of version of us, this bigger thing. But it's like our comprehension of that is limited by the human mind because we can't, it's like we have a biological, I guess, parameter around that understanding. But I mean, because it's like the soul is like, I do feel like the soul is infinite and limitless, but we just can't, in this temporary version, we can't really explain it or understand it.
Have you ever done the personality traits or like your configuration of your logic, emotion, intuition, or any
Um,
Myers-Briggs things?
I haven't done. I don't think I've done that. I've done the DISC, the DISC or whatever. I think I'm pretty high on the D in the D quadrant or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I haven't done any other than those though. I know there's like a type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something. Like I
There's
don't know.
so
There's so
many
many
out
different
there.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's fun to see and then, like, just knowing different personalities. So I did DISC. My mentor and coach is certified in DISC assessment, and I took a DISC back in, I think, 2019, and I was a high I and then
Mm,
kind of lower on the other letters, and then I just most recently took one in December, and it was the same score. So I thought that was really interesting that you are who you are, and there it is. Some of the other tests I think sometimes can change over as you're evolving, but that one, I'm still the high I.
mm. Yeah. I think those things. Well, I don't know if they stay if it's consistent. I guess it depends on the lifestyle and the person, and I guess it also too depends on where you're at because I feel like in some situations I would be more I, and maybe some situations like if I'm buying something, if I'm a customer, I'm definitely the more analytical, like the C or whatever it is, the like because I want to know exactly what the thing does, what whatever it is, like I want to know. And then sometimes I feel like I'm on the S too, like the what is the S? The S is like the friendly. I don't know. I think most people fall in the S. It's been a while since I looked at this, but I
Yeah,
think most people are in that quadrant. But uh, yeah, it is interesting, man. But I think it's important to know that about yourself because it's important to know how you come across to other people. So, like, if I'm in the D, which is like dominant or assertive or whatever they call it, some people might say it stands for something else, but that's what it stands for in the disc. But it's like you have to know how you come across to people, because like if I'm talking to somebody in a sales meeting or professional or even personal, and that person is like the more analytical, I might come across as like too aggressive or assertive or whatever. So I think you just have to be aware of that.
100%. What is some of your core framework in your coaching program?
So I focus a lot on mindset. That's a big focus for me. Mental, physical performance is another thing, and then I focus on. So there's sort of four basic, not basic, but four main, I guess, elements you could say, like mindset, performance, which is mental and physical performance, tools, which are things like leadership, problem solving, and then strategy, which is like sales, analytics, team building, stuff like that.
Full package.
Well, it is, but it's really focused internally to the person that I'm working with, or which is usually a leader of their, you know, business or whatever it is.
That's
I
fantastic.
I think Tony Robbins says that the growth of an organization is tied to 80% psychology of the leader and 20% is the mechanics. And you would think it would be a lot higher than that. You would think it would be like what you do, but it's man, because I've come across people that one thing I've really found about business owners and entrepreneurs, just because by nature we're already sort of against the grain almost, we're kind of doing our own thing. Sometimes it's really hard for us to take outside advice or information because like I was saying earlier, it's really easy for us to put our value or our self-worth into the thing that we're working on. And when somebody comes along and says, listen, this isn't working. You need to do this. It's sometimes you take that as a personal shot because it's like, especially if your identity or your worth is attached to that. And that's obviously not the way to be. I mean, it's not, you shouldn't be, you should be focused on that and grateful for that and focused on that, but you shouldn't be attached to it in that way to where it defines you, because you're always going to be limited or controlled by that thing. And so, but yeah, that's one thing I've definitely found out. But I mean, it sounds depressing to say that, but it also means that, first of all, most people's problem is, I don't want to say it's a simple solution, but it's a simple problem to understand that they're sort of almost sabotaging themselves. But then it's also too that anybody that you see in the business world, the athletics world, celebrities, whatever, it's easy for us to put these people on a pedestal, but they have at some point, if not currently, the same problems that we have. They just figured out a different way to handle it, to solve it, to overcome it. So it puts I think that's relieving to me, because it helps us understand that, yes, we might see people that we think are talented or gifted or whatever, but whatever we admire those people for, we have the same ability, within us.
So true. I think we're aligned in the mindset capacity and
Mm,
looking at awareness, because I say the same thing. Like, I am my biggest problem, but I'm also my biggest solution. And
exactly.
so
Yeah.
it's easy to point all the fingers at everyone else, but then how am I in that equation as contributing? And even if I think I am the kindest person in the whole world and like really have good intentions, to your point of the different personalities, and I like, my statistic is 99% of every breakdown happens from miscommunication. And
Mm.
even if we're intending to put goodness out into the world, there might be a listener just in a really tough spot that is triggered by a word or by a tone or something that happens. And if you're not aware of how you're receiving it and delivering it, I think it's a two-way street, and it's pretty powerful.
This episode is brought to you by Excel Coaching Academy. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I started a mindset coaching business. So, what I want to do with this business is I want to help entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, leaders, and fitness enthusiasts or athletes develop the right mindset to increase revenue, improve business or performance, and overcome the challenges needed to become the best version of themselves. You can get more information about this by emailing info@excelcoaching.academy. Well, I think the delivery is for sure our responsibility, because I was talking to a gentleman this past weekend, and he's like a professional speaker or whatever. And I mentioned to him that, like, if we have a message, if we can't get our message across, if the person doesn't understand our message, that's kind of like on us to deliver that in a way, or form it to where this person can understand it. Because, like, if I have something, a message or a thing or whatever, and the people that I'm talking to can't understand it, it's my responsibility to present it in a way that can be understood. And you can't just because somebody doesn't understand what you have to say, you can't go around and point fingers and say, well, it's your fault, because that's my message. You know what I mean? So I should be able to deliver it. Uh, and I don't know, that's a weird sort of space to get into, man, because, like, people say that, oh, well, if somebody does something to you, if it bothers you, the reaction is your fault. But then also too, there's like really things that out there that require a reaction. So it's like you have to know that balance. You have to know, like, where I guess maybe where to respond and where to um not let it affect you, maybe. Which I think responding and reacting are different things anyways. But you
So
know,
true.
it Uh, I wanted to ask you before we get too far away from this. So you were talking about, you said the pastries. You went to school with that. So what was it again that sort of diverted you from that?
Just opportunities. I went to pastry school when I was in my internship. It was 3 months of working in the industry,
Mm.
and I was in, let's go back, way back. In pastry school, I was still working full time. So when I was working full time, I was a server assistant. So polishing all the silverware and all the glassware and picking up as many hours as I could to pay my way through pastry school. Um, After school in Orlando, Florida, I moved to Center City, Philadelphia, and the opportunity that presented itself was to work for the Ritz-Carlton as a front desk agent. They didn't have any food and beverage positions available, so I think that was part of the transition. While I was working as my 3-month internship, I also worked as a front desk agent and just did check-ins and learned hotel operations. And I think once my 3 months internship was completed, I was working front office operations, and it was a new, exciting something to learn. And hotel operations is so well versed. If you can get your foot in the door into a front desk position, you can learn sales, accounting, food and beverage, engineering. You're connected to every single guest request and vendor request and anybody who walks through the door. So I think that really shined a light outside of restaurants to me. That was a bigger picture, total hotel operations. And I stuck with that path to continue from front desk agent all the way up to senior leadership.
Okay, nice. Okay, so I don't think we can have a conversation about hospitality without talking about. I don't know what you would even call this. Not customer service, but I think like the customer, not even experience, because that's what we were talking about earlier. But what the like people complaining
Mhm.
in the hospitality space is just crazy.
Always.
It's just crazy. Like in the food industry, the hotel industry, like it's just insane. So, is there something that's fueling that? Do you think? Like, what's behind that? Because I feel like, okay, so let's just say a person goes to a restaurant or whatever, and it's like every little thing they can't be pleased, whatever it is. Like, what? I feel like there's something that's behind that. And when I had conversations with people in the past about this, it's been like, well, that person has like a temporary way to maybe feel powerful or whatever. I don't know what it is, but like why is it that that's just such a huge thing in that space? And how do you deal with that on that side? Because I was talking to a restaurant owner, and I was like, and he does very well, and I was like, man, I don't know how you guys deal with that. Like I couldn't deal with it.
And hotels never close. So the nice thing about restaurants is maybe it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long section of the day, but hotels are 24/7.
Hmm.
So there can be days where people will say, "Oh, it's such a long day. I just worked 8 hours." And I'm like, "I just worked a 16 and a half hour day." Like
Right, yeah.
that's a half a day for me. So being in the industry, it can be brutal. And that's where I like your 4 segments of your coaching and your mindset, because it's so important that you have to take care of yourself so that you
Mm,
can better take care of your team and be united and enliven your core values and be prepared on how to handle humans. Like
yeah.
service is service is the transactional piece, and then hospitality is the heart to it. That is just, if you're genuinely there to want to help people, and if you ask 99% of the people in the industry of service, people are there because they want to help people. And that statistic, I think all my statistics are 99% kind of made up, but I think there's truth behind it. So to answer your question, I think from being prepared for problem resolution is things are going to happen because we're human and things aren't always perfect. So ownership is one level of it, but I have learned that the customer's not always right. Sometimes
Mm,
they're entitled because they're a certain prestigious level of buying points to be a platinum elite titanium member, and do you know who I am? I deserve an upgrade. And I'm like, I physically am operating a fully capacity hotel. Literally every room in the hotel is full. I don't have availability to give you an upgrade. Someone screams at you, throws a credit card in the face that wasn't frozen, thankfully, but like throws a credit card at someone. It's dangerous. Like, what are
that
you
is
doing?
crazy.
Yeah. So sometimes people, I think the awareness that when you're a guest, you're like, oh, well, I'm a guest. I'm paying you to take care of me. Um, but if you're able to create an organization where the culture is enjoyable and safe and comfortable, but not so comfortable that you treat someone wrong, like
Mm,
there's a level of understanding and empathy, but there's also just what's right, like integrity as well. So like there's been some brutal ones, and there's been some days that are like you're you're challenged. Like if you think of the baseball, like when you're practicing baseball and there's the machine like throwing the balls at you, or tennis,
mhm,
you know what I mean?
right.
I use my hands.
Yeah.
It's like that, like, "Oh, there's a guest, you have the opportunity to be of service with a smile." My program's called Service with a Smile, and so, like, you can choose to do the transactional service and just be like, "Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a nice day." Like, grocery style, like, if you go through the cash register at
Mm,
the grocery store, "Did you find everything okay? How are you doing? Wishing you a blessed day. See you next time." Like, transactional. But then if you have that one person, that pretty sure another documentary or something, there was this young man who would leave a quote in your bag. So when you get home, you get a positive quote for the day. And they're like actually asking you, how are you today? Not just the check it off of a list thing. I think that if you're able to set the tone of creating the environment for a memorable experience, the intentional behind it comes through more than just being transactional. Things are going to happen. So how you respond to it versus react, like you said, respond
Right.
versus react
Yeah.
is everything.
Well,
Don't add
so
fuel to the fire.
yeah, for sure. You mentioned that the customer always being right. And I think that's the thing that especially in the hospitality, industry. But I think things are kind of shifting on that because I think people are starting to like the people, I guess, the outside the hospitality industry are starting to respect and support people in the hospitality industry, like standing up for themselves, not taking that excessive harassment, basically. you know but it's like, because you'll see, I don't know if you've seen like these I think Wendy's was doing this a while on Twitter or whatever it was. They were like basically just calling it how it was. These restaurants and stuff doing this, like just basically being blunt and open. Because I think that customer always being a right thing is a very entitled mindset, and I think it's not right at all. I mean, there's two sides to this, and I think it certainly opens up the door for mistreatment. I don't know when that started. I don't know if that was like decades ago or whatever, but I think that mindset's sort of shifting because I don't think many people are taking that belief as much anymore.
I agree. And I think that's a good culture to transition.
For sure. Yeah.
Because like, oh well, I'm right. Do you know I'm always right? I think that's an older saying for sure, but it still exists. And so if there's a way that you can frame your approach and your mindset to say, how can we find a win-win? Like, what are you truly looking for? Sometimes that anger, that rage that's thrown at you as a service professional, um, is just them having a space to be able to release energy that maybe they haven't been able to. Maybe they didn't choose to go to the gym for the past month. Maybe they are angry at some other worldly thing that they just can't process. And so
Hmm.
you're the first opportunity for them to project that energy, and maybe they're not even doing it intentionally at you, but they throw it at you. So you have to be able to not take it personal and just say like, look, I can see through this. There's something there. Something's bothering you and I don't think it's me. Like,
No, yeah.
I just smiled at you and I'm trying to help you and like it's not me. So I've like been known to do a walk and talk, whether it's with a team member or with a guest, and just saying like, let's change the scenery. If we can go, especially in the Caribbean, it's a dream because you're walking by the Caribbean Sea and you're like fresh air and sunshine, like all the worries go away. But if you're at the front desk, that is like war zone. It's like, what do you mean you don't have my room ready at 10 a.m.? Like checkout's at 12, the room's still occupied. Like there's these things that happen. And if you can frame it to say, okay, the flights coming in to the island generally are earlier in the day. So if you're waking up at 3 a.m. in the Northeast to fly all day, God bless you, and you fly all day and you say, I'm going to arrive early. I just want to get checked in and get settled in. Usually there's a delay involved. So they're antsy and just want to get in, but front desk operations doesn't allow it. How do you meet in the middle to make them comfortable, be able to change into their swim attire, and then go wish them a beautiful day in the most beautiful sea, you know?
Well, you mentioned a good point, man, because like these things probably hardly are ever related to you. Like when people just blow up, and if they get off of a long flight and they got kids that are like whining or whatever, and everybody's hungry and something happened, somebody forgot a bag or whatever it was, it's like this stuff is probably almost never your fault. And I guess maybe people project in the business space. People have a bad day and take it out on somebody else. So it just makes sense that would happen in the hospitality space. But that's a good point because you mentioned the front desk being a war zone, and then the like actually. So the I don't even know how, because I've never been to a resort that's outside of the state. So, but like it's so if you go to a resort like in like Puerto Rico or somewhere like that, or what's another popular one? Is it
In
the
Florida,
Bahamas? The
if you're in Bahamas, yeah.
So if you go outside of that resort, that's like the place, right? The whether it's Puerto Rico or whatever, but like the resort itself, are there people who is it just the front desk? Is it like how does it work? Because I've
It's
never been to a resort that big. Like I'm talking about like the big ones.
if you think so, you've been to a city hotel, like if you're in South Carolina, have you
Yeah,
been
yeah.
to like Hilton Head or to um, even like a city hotel or airport hotel or something nearby? Like the organization still has housekeeping, still has engineering, like all of the people working are beyond front desk. There's a concierge usually that will
Hmm.
do all the requests for transportation, dining, spa excursions. You have a pool team for the pool and beach. You have restaurants and spa. Spa's my favorite.
So
Then
there's there like restaurants and spas like on the resort.
yes,
Okay. How big are
from
these
my
things?
experience, it's full service. So my experience is luxury full service. So it's basically everything you could ever want already there and done for you versus select service might be more of like an airport hotel that you serve yourself for breakfast or breakfast isn't included or basically the luxury market that I come from is high end 5-star, like,
Hmm.
everything is à la carte, so you pay for what you want, but you
Right.
get it. Like, you get
Right.
everything that you want, so that's kinda fun.
How big are these places like that you're talking about? Because I'm thinking if it has like its own restaurant and a spa, is that something like separate from the like? Is this like separate buildings or is it kind of all in one thing?
This one specifically is, all in one, so, one of my favorite examples is in 2016, I moved to Grand Cayman to be the pre-opening director of front office operations at the Kimpton Seafire. And Kimpton is a boutique hotel brand in the States
Hmm.
that most recently has been acquired under IHG umbrella. So if you think Ritz-Carlton under the Marriott umbrella, Kimpton is under IHG, the lifestyle luxury brand. And the Kimpton in Grand Cayman was the first one to open outside of the US and it's in a British territory. So it's like international island and just super dreamy, but it's all built up in one building is how it's that specific property is. So the spa is downstairs, the main lobby, the main restaurants, and then all of the guest rooms are above in the 10 floors above. It's
Okay.
really pretty.
Okay. So this isn't like, but some of them are set up to where there's like separate buildings, right? It's like, yeah. Okay. That's what I was
I
thinking.
think of like the Ritz-Carlton in St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands. You still don't have to leave the country because it's US territory, but they
Yeah.
have, I think, 6 different buildings. The main Palazzo building is open air and super dreamy gift shop and the front desk concierge and transportation. And then each of the buildings is where accommodations or the guest rooms are located, and then a different building for the spa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so that's like a little tiny little village almost. Like the resort is like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I thought. Like when I hear a resort in a place like that, that's what I think of.
You have little golf carts to drive
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that probably takes a big staff to operate that thing. Multiple different buildings like that.
It definitely does. I'm pretty sure in St. Thomas, the Ritz-Carlton had less than 200 rooms, maybe 180. And then in Grand Cayman, I want to say almost 300.
That's crazy.
Pretty
Because
big, but
because I
beautiful.
know I know a local apartment community that has 300 rooms, and that thing is there's like it's massive. I think there's like 13, like 10 buildings or something. I mean, it's massive. Um, what if this is something that you can share? What's like a crazy story, like a crazy story that you've been involved not involved with, but like seen at a hotel or resort? Like nothing to like. Don't if you can't share it, don't share it. But I'm curious. Like what's something crazy?
I could write a book for sure.
I bet.
Okay, let's pick one. Oh man, there are so many. There was a hotel that I was a young manager operating, and this is a true story. There was a celebrity that was staying at the hotel,
Hmm.
and the hotel had several floors and it actually had 2 different levels of a lobby. So you have the main entrance where you'll drive in the porte cochere, like where the driver will drop you off. You take a small elevator to the main lobby where front desk is, and then there's the guest elevator tower that take you up to all the floors. And this particular guest, it was a checkout day, and they check out by noon. this person was running behind. It was like him and his wife and all of their belongings, and their driver was already sitting on the lower level waiting for him. He called for a bellman, was adamant he only wanted one of those bell carts to put your luggage on. And because of all of the amount, we remember checking him in with multiple carts. We're like, "Are you sure you don't want two? Can we please send two up to expedite it?" He refused. So we said,
Hmm.
"Okay, we'll send one." So we sent one gentleman with one bell cart, loaded everything. The only thing that didn't fit on the bell cart was his guitar, which was like a bazillion dollar guitar because he's a celebrity and it's so priceless, right? Like, you don't want to damage this, so we can just carry it. He's like, "No, it needs to fit on the cart." And the guest was adamant. We said, "Okay." So the bellman puts it on like at the very, very tippy top of the bell cart. There was literally no room. And so it's sticking out
Mm.
and pushing it to go down to the guest elevators with the guest, and the little sprinkler on the top, the little sprinkler on the
Yep.
ceiling got
Yep.
bumped by this bazillion dollar, really important guitar and sprayed everywhere. We had to shut down the guest elevators
Oh
and
man.
could only operate off of the back of the house service elevators for a fully committed hotel. Busy check-in, busy check-out, and the VIP of all VIPs had to check out like yesterday. Like, he was running late and all of his things are damaged now. And it's like,
Mm.
to operate something like that as a young leader taught me a lot, and different ways to find a solution and be resourceful and communicate, as we're talking about communication.
Hmm.
It's just spot on to be like, how are you going to respond to this? Because reacting is not going to get you anywhere. So that was a fascinating, probably favorite story to say, just
So
because someone was insistent that they wanted it a certain way. Can you present yourself in a different way to say, this is an alternative, or be more careful pushing the bell cart so it doesn't hit the sprinkler? Like, it was an honest mistake by everybody, but it was
well, I mean, my question is like, how much trouble would it have been to just get a second cart? Was it really that big of a deal? I mean,
for the gentleman, and the way that he communicated, it was an
mm.
impossible option. And so trying to find a way to navigate that can be interesting. So you want to humor them, but you also, it was tricky. So,
So
like, who is wrong?
were you the one that managed that whole scenario?
I was a contributing leader, so it
Okay.
was a lot. I mean, our human resources team jumped in,
Hmm.
stayed late, tried to wait for the fire chief to come through. I mean, the elevators were down for majority of the day, so that was one of those like 16-hour days for sure.
So what did you when that happened, like how did you said communication and sort of like working with everybody. What did you do when that happened?
Took a deep breath and just said, "What is something that we can do to work through this?" So
Hmm.
kind of divide and conquer, because there's still guests trying to get up and down and some can't take the stairs. And so we paused housekeeping services during the day and communicated, like, sent out a mass communication saying, due to unforeseen emergency, we can't use the guest elevators, but we're here to guide you. So we had all hands on deck where the team came together and we're like human arrows saying, you can take the grand stairwell, you can take this, we can take you over to these elevators, we can try to give you credit for lunch. And just follow up after all of that was cleared was probably one of the most, when they say fortune is in the follow up, I think that's everything. Like, genuine care of saying, in the heat of the moment, it's chaos, but to calm it down afterwards and follow up and say, "Hey, Mr. Jones, it's Kylie at the front desk. I am so sorry for any disturbance yesterday may have caused. I just want to check on you today. And, like,
Yep.
is there anything we can do to make your stay more enjoyable?" And just genuinely ask. And they'll be like, "Oh man, we're totally fine. Thanks for letting us know." Or, "Actually, if we could just have dinner, like, it's my wife's birthday and that really destroyed everything. I appreciate you trying to make it right." And then you go above and beyond and, like, rose petal turn down, send them champagne, like we have the opportunity to make it right. And if you just humbly, like, have your hat in the hand just to be like, I have a heart for hospitality, I'm physically here battling through this unfortunate scenario, proving that, like, I'm here for you. You can't, I mean, action's everything.
Man, I love that because I think a lot of people in that situation would have blamed you know, the guy with the celebrity or whatever. But you
Yeah.
guys kind of like took accountability, and I think It's weird when you hear people say take accountability, even if it's not your fault. Like, it's kind of weird to say that. But like, at the same time, when you have that big of an impact with, I don't know how many people were affected, a couple hundred at least, 1,000 maybe. I don't know how many people. But when you take accountability like that, that really shifts because I always say that power follows blame. So if you blame something, if you blame somebody or something, then the power to change it or make it better is in the hands of that person or that thing. So, this, and I don't know if you guys shared with the rest of the hotel what happened or why it happened, but it doesn't really matter because you took I think the steps, and I like that. You said what did you say? The follow up. What did you say about the follow up?
The fortune is in the follow up.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like that because I think that does make a lot of sense. And yeah, fortune is in the follow up. Yeah,
And
I've
you're
never heard.
spot on to follow up with the staff the next day. If you say to the fellow team members that maybe were off that day, or
Mm,
following up with the leaders to follow up with their line team, that communication's everything, 'cause it's a life lesson. So like, how can we learn from this and make it more efficient next time, or prevent it from happening again, versus chasing your tails to have it happen? That's a once in a lifetime kind of weird scenario, but worth sharing. And I think that if you can look at things as blessings and lessons, you're a world ahead. And to teach that then to the rest of the team and say, what would you do in that scenario? Not me be like, you need to do this. Just
hmm
say, this is what happened. Like, what could have we done different? And do a brainstorm session on it and say, heaven forbid something like that happens again, or something unexpected happens. Know that you're on a high performing team that will show up and show out to like till the end. Not, oh, I'm HR, I left at 5. The director of human resources was right beside me until like 7 o'clock when things died down. And I just had so much respect for her and the team for being able to choose to be there when they could have just said, sorry, I clock out, I only work 9 to 5 or whatever,
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Well, and then also too, like, if you're taking this sort of experience and training the team with it, I think that's a real world example of like when people say, if it rains, if you dance in the rain or whatever, it's like what you make out of it. That's literally that. Because I love that little simple expression that you can't control the weather, but you can control if you get wet, and you can control if you dance in the rain. So, and I don't mean to use this as a pun because I know this was a sprinkler and everything was involved, but you take that and then you train the team with it, because what would be the alternative, to experience that for, I don't want to say nothing, but nothing. I mean, are you going to go through that stress for no reason at all?
I mean, time, money, and energy involved was a major loss. So if you can count some gains in the scenario, like, that is the learning lesson, and that's priceless.
Mm,
So to say like, it was unfortunate, but here's our rebound, especially on as you climb the leadership ladder and learn that any of those kind of scenarios get reported to ownership and you have to speak for it. That's a whole different mindset of, oh, it's just whatever. For problem resolution, it costs something to recover from something that you didn't get housekeeping service, or your pen stopped working. That's a real one. Like,
the pen
your pen
stopped
stopped
working.
working. I think there's a lot that I could tell a story like for a week straight on all the stories. But if you realize some of it, whether you, to your point, if you can control it or not, and you just say like, what I can control is how I'm responding and how I'm
Mm,
here, open heart, open hands, like, I'm open mind, find a solution, and very solution focused. I think it's a win.
yeah, for sure. I'm curious, man. I can't move past this without asking this. What is going on with this pen? A pen stopped working? Like an
This
actual
is
ink
one of
pen?
my very first, very, very first, like, first time working in a hotel, first time front desk agent. I
Mm-hmm.
have so many, like, line level, brand new. I had a call and it was a businessman in a business hotel, a city hotel, and he had a board meeting. It was a virtual board meeting, board of directors meeting, I think it was. And the pen, usually there's a little notepad and a pen or pencil in your room,
Mm,
and the pen just was not working. And he called down because he was already on the call and his pen stopped working. So we quickly sent a couple of them extra ones up to his room without being too much of a disturbance, and then gave him an extra hour to finish his meeting. And then I personally followed up with him. But I mean,
that's crazy.
yeah, like, if he's running a multi-million-dollar organization and you're in a meeting and you can't take your notes. I mean, now it's all cell phones and all these AI Fathom recorders or note taker kind of things. There's
Mhm.
all these tools now, but back then it
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also too, I feel like people in that space are probably traveling with a pen. You know, I'm sure there was a pen somewhere in the in that room. Like that's crazy that you mentioned that. So I was at this thing this past weekend, like I said, with these other people, and somebody was speaking, and I didn't have a pen. So what I did was I took my phone and I started taking notes on my phone. Well, this lady, and so I have the phone that I have has a pen that's built into it. But even, I mean, you don't even need that to take notes on your phone. You can just type it in your phone. And this lady was like, she was beside me. She was like, "What app are you using for your note taking?" I was literally just using the notes app that's on my phone. And I was like,
Yes.
well, honestly, the story is I just didn't have a pen and I wanted to take notes, and not having a pen is like a lousy reason to not be able to take notes and do something that could really change your life. So I just started taking it on my phone. But I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like the way I look at like situations like that is, how can you, what can you do to proceed that's going to help you, like being resourceful, because there's probably so, and I'm not blaming this guy, I don't know anything about this guy, but I'm just saying there was probably there was a way to take the notes other than what he was doing. But I don't know, maybe he was a person, maybe his suitcase was across the room, he had to be on the phone, and he had, I don't know, maybe he just likes writing things down, I don't know. I feel like for me though, it's like the note taking. I love taking notes on my phone because I don't like carrying around more than I have to. And then you have, I don't even know if I were to go to my notes app right now, all the stuff that I've written in there, I probably have close to a gigabyte of like just notes in there,
Same.
because it's just easier. I feel like to carry that around versus an entire library.
I used to be that girl who would carry binders and notebooks to every
Yeah.
meeting and like write it all down. But I looked like I was a college student, and they were
Mm-hmm.
like, when your hands are like this, it's not as open to be available.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, if you're going from a front office to back office to executive office to all the places and you have your hands full, I'm not available to be of service if someone falls and I need to catch you, or you need a door held, or whatever. You're just jumbly things. So, yeah,
yeah. I can kind of see that. It's also too. You have to really verbalize that you're taking notes on your phone, because people will think that you're being rude and texting while you're, so you have to let that be known. And I get that. I understand that. That's probably the only bad thing about using your phone for notes. Uh, but I mean, as long as you communicate that, I think you're probably fine.
have you used the AI note takers for any of your Zoom calls?
So you talking about like the recorded ones?
Mhm.
So I haven't used them personally. I've been on calls where they use it like some sort of, I don't know. I think Fathom is one or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've seen them. It's okay. I mean, it's efficient. I don't know that I would really. It's all right. Yeah, it's all right, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about AI, man. I'm not really like, yeah, it's okay and everything, but I don't think we need to get too accustomed to it or like too dependent on it or use it more than maybe we should, which I think a lot of people are.
I'm
But I mean,
starting to embrace it. Like I'm very old school. Like I want to handwrite everything. So being able to be on so many Zoom calls, I do use Fathom. I've just used it for like probably the past month. I think I'm going on like my first month anniversary of
okay.
using it. But with all the calls, it's amazing how it can just capture it. Then I'm
Mm,
fully present here
right,
and
right. Yeah.
sidetracking and thinking of what I'm writing down and then kind of missing something valuable that you're saying. Like I am fully here. And the recording then sends me the email of the bullet points that are, Kylie, don't forget to XYZ. And then you do this. And like it's just a little easier for
Yeah.
recapping some of those key pieces, I think, which is interesting. So the fact that
Yeah.
someone designed that is mind blowing.
I mean, that makes sense. And I might eventually use that for Zoom calls, because I've been in like business meetings before where they have an actual person that does that. Like the person will be writing the whole time, and then they'll
Yeah.
send you a follow-up email with like quotes of what was said. I was like, damn, dude, this is serious. But it's like, but I don't know. Yeah, I think there's potential in that note taking for the AIs. I don't know, man. We got to be careful with AI. Like we really do. Because okay, so like the note taking, that's one thing, and then people are asking it to summarize things, and so like how much of this stuff do we get to a point where we become almost dependent on that, like almost dependent on the AI? That's what really kind of like, I think people are concerned about AI taking over the world or whatever. I think that's AGI. I think that's a little bit different from what like we see as AGI, like ChatGPT and stuff. But but my thing is like using or losing our humanity through the AI. Like, I mean, because we're already a lot of things are already virtual, and that's already like we're already losing a lot of that connection because we are virtual. Yes, it's efficient, and yes, you can do things that you maybe couldn't do in person because you can connect with different people from different places. But at a certain point, man, which I think we just got to be careful about losing the like if I ask ChatGPT to write an email to you or like if I was to say write um a text message that would show empathy to this person for XYZ. I mean, maybe it might be good, but probably not. Like, probably not something I could create myself. I mean, I don't know. Losing that humanity of it, I guess, is what concerns me.
Fair. I can relate to that. Especially being so hospitable and like person driven.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would rather go for a walk and talk than the Zoom call. But it's true. Like to be able to connect from different states and different countries is
Mm.
such a gift. And the world is so virtually connected now that like, even if you're walking down the street, do you ever notice that there's less eye contact now than there has been in probably the past 5 years? Like it's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, I think because most people are most people are probably buried in their phones. Like most people are like, I'll catch myself sometimes, man. I'll be because I do a lot of work on my phone, and even something like body language or posture has changed because of the phone. Because I'll notice that like I got my head like farther down than I want it to be, and I'll like correct my posture. And I'm like, hang on a minute, let me let me fix myself. But it's true, man. But yeah, you know, a lot of people talking about the virtual thing. A lot of people like the younger. I don't know what the generation is called. I think technically I'm a millennial. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But whatever is like early 2000s or whatever. Uh, a lot of those people don't really want in person jobs, like where they are face to face with people. And it's like, man, that's to think that something like that is becoming an obsolete skill. So to think that if you do that with somebody, you have some sort of advantage to most people who can't do that because you know those people eventually will replace the workforce at some point. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy to think that that is something that is basic is an advantage. And I understand people get shy and all that kind of stuff, but that's different from not being able to have a conversation in person. You know, I don't think no matter what AI, how virtual we get, whatever, that's a skill we're always going to have.
And I think with like technologies too, like if you think of, I think of my grandmother, I call her G, RIP, but she was a banking supervisor
Hmm.
and she could do the calculator, like the old
Oh
Casios,
yeah.
like without looking.
Yep.
Um, and then, so that was technology back then and like the big clunky cell phones before now, everything is in your hand.
Yep.
Everything was, you have to go find your calculator in your dump ball drawer and then be able to use it. Otherwise, you just go old school pen to paper math. Like, do you remember Mad Minutes growing up? Did you ever do that in math class?
Oh man, I just got a wave of like, what's that? What's that called? The Mandela effect, where you remember something that really didn't happen. I think I remember that. You had like
It was like
a
it was like
time
a
limit.
piece of paper and you have a time limit
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
minute. It's like, how many math questions can you answer? Like simple,
yep.
just straight algebra. I thought I was like really nerdy and like loved it because I would always win. Like it was like really fast and do it as quick as possible. Or playing Boggle, like for family game night, where you like shake the letters and you spell as many words as you can in a little bit of time. Like I feel like those are
Hmm.
my jam. But anyway, I say that because now people aren't as like, I don't know, it's not as much family dinner and family game nights and using a calculator or using your hand to fill, like to write out problems or to handwrite. Like I spoke to someone, speak to people all the time. So who was I talking to? Spoke to someone recently who said that there's a job where people literally transcribe for cursive because many people these days don't know how to write in cursive, write or
Shots
read it.
fired.
Do
I
you
can
know how
write
to?
cursive. I can't read it too well, to be completely honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's a squiggle, so it's kind of hard, but like that was like a basic of my learning growing up. And so I feel like as things are changing, and to your point, there's all these new generations that didn't exist before our
Hmm.
generation. So it's like, whoa, they're learning all these technology skills, but not some of the basic communicate to each other. And like back in the sailors world, they would ship a letter in a bottle and like send it
Yeah.
overseas, or I don't know, however that works, but it was probably cursive. And so I don't know. I just think it's really fascinating and it'll be interesting to see where world takes us in the next decade, 2 decades. It's
It's
gonna be
it's interesting, man, because when I was in school, I think they taught us like 1 year of cursive, and then the next year they stopped it for whatever reason. And I remember a bunch of parents were kind of up in arms about it. But my ex girlfriend, she was homeschooled, and so she's a little bit younger than I am, and she wrote everything in cursive. Like all of her handwriting was in cursive. So it's crazy. It's crazy to see the difference between like the public school and like, I don't know if there's a standard for homeschooling or whatever, but private school. I don't know if it was homeschool or private school. I can't remember, but the difference is that like we had 1 year of like very basic like cursive and stuff, but now it's like most people my age that were in that, and I guess in the same system, there's not really that. And spelling, I think, was a big thing that we had a little bit of spelling, but nothing too crazy. Like we didn't. What was it? The phonics? Is it called the phonics system or whatever? Yeah, I think it's called phonics, like the pronunciation of the letters and the words. We had a little bit of that, but yeah, man, it's crazy. Like I don't know, I think that because a lot of people don't really learn communication. I feel like, I mean, I think is there's like a natural sense of communication. I think we can naturally communicate, but also too, it can be improved if you're not like if you're shy or whatever. But I think a lot of that, to go back to the disc thing, a lot of that like stems from self-awareness, like being aware about yourself, and how you come across to other people, and not being in your head so much, like being present with the person, which is really hard to do these days, to not be in your head because there's so much going on. But
Yeah,
I think being present with the person, and being aware of like the person that's in front of you, I think that's big. Yeah, virtual is convenient, man, and AI is convenient and stuff, but we're never going to replace that connection, I feel like.
agreed. And I appreciate that that's your structure for your podcast, that it's not an overly formal setting. It's you can be in a big comfy chair.
Yeah, that thing looks really comfortable. If I had that on this side of this desk, I don't know if I'd get anything done over here.
I have a whole workstation downstairs, but I was like, for this, it's like the natural light and not have to have a big studio or anything, and just be comfortable, and to the point of not having a structured, like, this is the topic we're going to talk about and this is the question we're going to ask. I just appreciate that it's a free flowing, organic conversation, because I think that's so much needed in the world today. And
Hmm.
it's natural and it's authentic, and I think it's extremely valuable. So I appreciate this platform and what you've created to share with the world.
I appreciate that. I think that's why podcasts, the biggest like Joe Rogan and those guys, I think that's why they are so big, is because people, dude, it's like, I want to use the word craving, but I think people are just like, they just want, there's like you said, there's not a lot of that in the world. There's not a lot of that open authenticity. Like we have social media, which is completely fabricated. We have like people on TV, celebrities and stuff, which is completely a one-sided thing. But the podcast world, like Joe Rogan, all the big guys, several hour conversations. It's like we want that. We want that openness, connection to a person. Because for the longest time, and I know we got to close out in a minute, but the longest time there was like us and them, like the people that watch the TV and the people on TV or whatever it was, the commercials or whatever. And you see a politician, or you see like like a celebrity, whatever. That's like a very one-sided thing to that person. It's not like, that's not who that person is. It's a very small screen of that person's life. Anyway, I think craving is the right word. I think we're all craving that connection with people. But I can't believe we've been talking this long. It does not seem like it's been over an hour. Where can you be found? Do you have social media, website, or anything?
I'm on all the platforms, but most active on Instagram. So you can find me at Kylie Rae of Sunshine. Rae is my middle name.
Okay. So one thing I ask everybody before we close, if you could share one of the most important lessons you've ever learned, it can be from your personal life, if you're comfortable sharing it, or your career. What do you think is one of the most important, most valuable lessons you've ever learned?
Good question. I'm going to go with a simple answer. And it's a quote my mom taught me when I was really little, but if there's a will, there's a way.
Hmm.
So, in a way, instilling resilience, of saying that resourcefulness that we talked about throughout this episode, I believe that if there's a will, there's a way. So, you choose to make a change, or you choose to make the impact that you want to make in the world. So, I encourage you all to share a smile, because I believe a simple smile can change the world.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that about you. You smile a lot.
It
Yeah.
happens naturally. So if you take a passport picture and they say you can't smile, it's like this
Hmm.
weird smirk.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it reflects who you are there. It fits you well. Like,
Thank
I
you.
think I have a very mean looking, serious RBF, but like I'm a nice person. I feel like, I don't know. I'm just very focused on things. Like, especially in the gym is the worst. Like I look very unapproachable sometimes. I feel like, but I'm a nice person, I think.
I think so. It's been enjoyable to talk to you, so
It
I
has.
appreciate
It has. I appreciate it. If you can hang out for just a second, I'll explain to you how I upload this thing. But I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you enjoyed this podcast or enjoyed this episode, you can find more at Pure Wisdom Podcast. This is on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple and Google Podcasts. There you can subscribe, like, and share and interact with all of our content. Again, we appreciate it, and we will see you next time.